Hello to all of my wonderful supporters and subscribers. Thank you guys for watching the videos up until this point. This is part 3 and this will be the final part of this section of the series. I hope the videos brought to light some of the contradictions of what patriarchy was supposed to do for women and what it actually gave us during the period of Reconstruction. Reconstruction was a really short time. It was only about 4 or 5 years, and it was a really difficult time. It was really a kind of introduction to what was supposed to come during the Jim Crow period. It was very difficult for both men, women, all men, women, and children, and the South was in real turmoil, and people were really poor, black and white, and everyone was, I guess, trying to make the best of the situation. And I would say that women and children, black women and children, got the real short end of the stick. And I listened to these men who were for the men's movement, and they love to throw out, Reconstruction and lynching and what they did for women during that period. And as you can see, the history tells us something very, very different. They were supposed to protect us because during slavery they couldn't. And there were many, many reports of things that I mentioned in the part 2 of this series. And you'd be surprised, the majority of them came from the Carolinas. I have no clue what was going on in North and South Carolina, but the majority of the reports that I looked through were from North and South Carolina, and these women did not get any special treatment. They were beat just as brutally, just as viciously as any man, okay? During this time was, the real rise of the black politician, both Republican and Democratic. And if you guys don't know about how the political parties kind of went back then, Republicans are what we now consider more to be Democrats. They were for, human rights, and they were trying to make sure that blacks got, equal rights. And Democrats were, what was trying to hold on to that old Southern system. So there were some black Democrats back then who, tried to, I guess, assimilate to what the South was going through. And there were also some Republicans, and the Democrats got a lot of heat for them. Women wouldn't date them. Women just wouldn't be bothered. They were shunned out of the church. They didn't play about that. Just like, we talk about black Republicans now. So I just want you guys to think about, when you hear men say certain things like that, ask them, do they know the history? Ask them, how much protection did these women get? What did they really do for the community? It was really, they were really selfish back then. They were about the advancement of themselves. They were trying to get this political power. They were trying to just assert their authority in Southern America, where, they didn't have an opportunity to do that. Now, on the flip side, there was an influx of black marriage. I mean, there were just piles of marriage documents. That was one of the first things people did once they got free, was that they went and legalized that marriage. And I was looking at records. It was like 64-year-olds marrying like 42-year-olds. It was some odd marriages going on, but they legalized those marriages. But on the same side, you will see that, a lot of times people, they abandon their families. So there's always kind of a catch-22. Yes, there was an influx of marriage, but, in one instance I didn't include in the video, there was a black politician who, they didn't like the way he was voting. They didn't like that he was in politics, really. And they went to burn down his house. So, I think it was just men from the town. They bust in. They kind of shot at his wife and child, and he left. He flew. He fled. He had some men, some black men from the community come and protect him. They put him in this wagon, and they shipped him up north. In his statement, he never once said that he sent for his wife. Now, maybe he did, but that was the case. Men would, if they had, a price on their head, someone said, we're coming to get you, they would leave. Sometimes they would take their family, but there was quite a few instances where they didn't. And these women were forced to try and make it happen. So, you know, when I hear things about women and what we did and what we didn't do, it really burns me, because I don't think these men did all of the study. Now, don't get me wrong, as much as men would be, women would be, men would be as well. It was a really difficult time for them. But, you know, we didn't get the appreciation that we deserved. We didn't get the respect we deserved. Women weren't allowed to vote. There was no push for women's, for women in politics, period. There were women groups who supported black politicians, but there was no push for that. The push for suffrage did not come for at least another 20, 30 years. And that started with both black and white suffragists. During this time, there was no push for that. And Reconstruction lasted a very short period of time. Once I got pulled out of the South, there was no push for any kind of women in politics. So what patriarchy was supposed to do was protect us. It was supposed to protect us and our interests, and, you know, in this wonderful society that black men had saw that white men were trying to have. And what it did was it bit us in the ass as far as women. They were brutal, and the only example they have for patriarchy and how to be authoritative figures they received from white slave masters. And the only way to assert their authority in household was to really brutalize and be cruel to women. We were their scapegoats. And to this day, ladies, don't you still feel like you're the scapegoat? You know, but there were instances where women would receive less rations, first of all. If a man received $12 in rations for food, women would receive $6, and children would receive like $4. Women would sacrifice meat. Women and children would sacrifice meat so that the male sharecroppers would have meat, because they were working out in the field. When men and women worked in the field as sharecroppers, men would receive $8 to $10 a month. Women would receive $5 to $7. And, you know, when rations got low, it was a really difficult time. The South was straight up and down poor. There was no money. The Civil War had stripped it dry. They were really relying on the North for any sort of assistance. And women would walk 20 to 40 miles for rations for their children and for themselves. You know, I'm wondering, you know, men sit up here and talk about what they did. Like, where were you? Where were you when these women were being brutalized during the Memphis riots? And this was a report of 2 of 7 women that were brutally raped during the Memphis riots. Now, there were all kind of men running around shooting and trying to defend whatever they were defending, but who was looking out for the women? Ladies, we haven't always stood by ourselves, but we always stood up for ourselves, and we always had to defend our children. We do that now. Even when there's no man around, we've always done it. So like I said, applaud yourselves, because we've always stood strong. And when things got hard and we didn't think that we could make it, we always find the push, whether it be just something internally within us or we had to do it for our children. We've always stood strong. And I hope that, you know, people understand that patriarchy was supposed to be good for us, and it didn't turn out that way. And as you saw in the first video, there were women who totally rebelled against this. They were like, wait a second. You know, I don't know if this is necessarily what I want to do. I want to have some say-so in my life. Who's to say that this man has the best interest for me? You know, so there were, you know, baby feminists even back then. So I hope this video has been really informative. I hope it wasn't bootleg because there's a lot of reading. But I was really fascinated by what I saw. And, you know, then you hear certain things. And, yeah, there's a few holes in the story. And it's up to us as academics, as feminists, as just regular people to fill in the holes in what we hear in every day. So, thank you for watching, and I hope this was really informative for you guys. And I'll talk to you guys really soon. Can't wait for a second portion, which will be on lynching. I'm so excited. I did a whole paper on females who are lynched. They don't get talked about, and I will discuss them here. And there's stories that you will not believe. You'll never believe it. So I will see you really soon. Bye.